Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is Debbie, and I am up bright and early this morning, and I'm talking like it's 6:30 a.m. As soon as it started getting light, I was up basically with the chickens that I don't have chickens. So I'm out here right now cleaning out the garden from the onions. I just harvested the onions. I'm going through and cleaning this up. This area is going to become a lettuce bed and a radish bed. So we're just basically converting it over, and I might go ahead and plant some more kale as well in here, because the kale that, especially the Russian kale, it will go through cold snaps, snow, frost, freezes, everything that I've seen, that it will go through it. And I also might plant some more onions in here, or leeks, because I have several of those. They would be from seed. So I could go ahead and plant some of those if I wanted to. I'm not real sure if I want to do that right now. I do have some leeks already that are actually getting pretty big along the front of my green beans. So you can see some of the leeks here. So anyway, that's what we're doing this morning. Anyway, so we're out here in the garden. I had to stop a couple of times because someone was talking to me. So anyway, we are cleaning up some of the garden, just getting in here some of the things that either are finished or didn't produce very well. We're getting in and cleaning up. We took out a few of the tomato plants already. There were some super sauce tomatoes that had some damage on them. We finished harvesting the rest of the tomatoes off the vine. Some of them were turning color already, and some were still green. That's fine. Then we'll go ahead and finish on out in the house. And we've got a couple of more super sauce tomatoes that have a little bit of damage on them. It's just at the end of the season, and they are just done. They are struggling at this point, between us not having a whole lot of water. We had some rain, a little over an inch a few days ago, but it dries out pretty quickly here. All right, sorry about that. There were some sirens going through. We live pretty close to the main road, so you can hear a lot of sirens and things going through. Anyway, we're cleaning up some of the stuff out here, and tomatoes are being assessed to see whether or not they're still healthy enough to keep going. There are some of them in here that, even though they have damage on them, still have new growth on them and still have tomatoes that are getting pretty large, like that one right there that you can see some big tomatoes hanging from. That's an old German. We still have two super sauce tomatoes up here near the wall of the house that are still very, very, very beautiful. Not a whole lot of damage on them. But then we have a couple over here that have some damage on them. Still, they have some new growth on the top. They have tomatoes that are still getting big. So they are still doing pretty well, and we will continue to have those in here. And then we have some giant ox hearts, which we've shown a couple of times, that I keep tying up. Those plants are just absolutely knocking it out of the park. They're nice and beautiful. And then we have some old Germans in here as well, that are nice and beautiful. I did trim up the smaller one right here this morning, just basically going in, taking off a lot of the damaged leaves and limbs and stuff like that. So we've got that one looking back nice and healthy, and it does have a lot of new growth on it here, and here. So it's still a healthy plant. Just was struggling a little bit with not having a whole lot of water. Even though I do water, it's not enough to really even tip the iceberg, I guess. We do have a super sauce tomato behind these tomatoes, actually maybe a couple of them, and those are still doing pretty well because they have a little bit of shade from the giant ox heart and also the old German. This one is an old German right here that I'm holding up, so we can see a huge amount of new growth on this one, and my stake is not tall enough, so I am just trying to deal with it leaning over, but it doesn't seem to be bothering the tomatoes at all. But as you can see, those tomato plants are doing still quite well. There's not a whole lot of damage on them at all, and that's basically because I think the drainage of water comes this direction. I had to pause it again because my oldest little dog, she was out here, and my daughter was calling her back into the house, and she was just kind of standing and looking at her like, why? She's digging in the garden. I might get a carrot. She loves to get carrots out of the garden, and she will even go and dig one up herself and eat it. So anyway, just got a whole lot of area here to go ahead and get planted with some lettuce, radishes, and whatever else that we decide. I'm actually going to put a little bit of spinach in here as well, I've decided. So we're going to put some spinach in. I've not had any spinach really this season because it has been too hot. Everything that I've planted as far as spinach has bolted. I'll even show you a little bit of a spinach patch that I had when we got rid of one of the first pepper plants. We planted some spinach in this area. You can see it's up, but it came up very spotty and it doesn't look very well. And it's just because it had been so hot. And we finally are getting into temperatures of the lower 80s and 70s. Tomorrow it's supposed to be like 70 degrees. Today it's 77. And I'm actually have on some leggings today. I've worn shorts all summer long, or dresses, and dresses, yes, working out in the garden, I know, but they were casual dresses. So anyway, we are just going to go ahead and replant some more spinach, and I think I might try to plant some more spinach in that little spot right there just to kind of break up the soil a little bit and plant some more. But that is a high traffic area. I have to go that way to assess the plants and pull tomatoes and all kinds of stuff, so I may just go ahead and leave it as it is, just to have an area to walk through. At this point, there's not a whole lot in the garden we want to plant. We don't plant anything like cucumbers or anything like that because it's just too late in the season. It's too cool, and they just won't do anything. We could potentially plant some more bush beans, like contender bush beans, but I have so many already that I just don't want to have anything go to waste. So I'm not going to plant any beans because we have so many, and we still have pole beans that are still, as you can see, producing, as well as bush beans that are still producing. And we have 2 more patches of bush beans that are producing, and then our royal burgundy beans, which are behind the tomatoes, are still producing as well, and they're still blooming. So we still have a lot of that going on, and we still have a lot of beans in the second garden, which has the corn and stuff like that. Corn is all harvested. We are basically just leaving the stalks up to dry at this point, and also to be trellises for the beans that we have in here. So you can see we still have lots of beans in the corn. They just basically had started producing pretty recently. And we'll probably let some of those go to seed as well. But we have so many beans right now that we don't need to plant any more at the moment. So anything else was going to become lettuces and spinaches and all kinds of more cool hardy plants. I could even potentially plant more flowers because it's supposed to still stay warm for a while and at least above freezing, but I don't want to run the risk of it possibly freezing and killing them, and then we just wasted the seeds. So there's that. So anyway, that's what we're doing today, is just going through, cleaning up a whole lot of the garden, getting some different things planted. I did go ahead and replant some more dill a few days ago, and you can see all of that is up. It was basically right before the cool snap that we had, and they still came up, and they're still going to do something. So we will be having some dill at least, and all of our mint plants and everything, all of our plants basically in the garden are still producing. We've had a lot of lettuce over here in this container that has died back, and we've still got more dying back, and I'm not real sure why it's just dying back, but I did replant some seeds in here, so those should be up in the next couple of days. And I think I'll go ahead and rip out the rest of that and plant some more seeds in there just to have some more lettuce. Like we said, we still have cucumbers and everything that are producing because it's still warm enough for that. We still have our melons out here, except for the watermelons. We did harvest all of the watermelons, so I have to clean out the watermelon vines this morning and just do some general maintenance of the garden. Makes it a little bit easier when we have to go in and do a lot of other cleaning of the garden. So we have all of that. We had quite a bit of wind yesterday as well, which kept toppling over our tomatillo plants. So we need to trim those up a little bit better. I had a limb break off of the tomatillo. For some reason, the larger tomatillo is not producing. I think it's only had like 1 or 2 on it so far. And, well, no, this one actually does not have anything on it whatsoever. So for some reason, this one is not producing as yet, but the smaller one is. So you can see we have lots of little guys on here on this one, and more popping up all the time, but the larger one of the two is not, and it's kind of becoming a canopy, so I'm hoping that it just doesn't break all to heck, which is what the first two did that kind of canopy situation. We've also got snapdragon seed pods that are on our plants, so hopefully those will get to finish on out and we'll get to harvest those seeds. And we still have loads and loads of basil in here, seeds that we have to harvest. And I could even cut some of this basil back and it will come back out again. So there's that possibility, but it's so close right now to having a frost or a freeze. I really don't want to do that. We have plenty of dried basil right now, but I think we will go ahead and get these basil plants out of here. I'm going to go ahead and keep the cinnamon basil going to seed so I can collect the seeds off of those. But the sweet basil back there, we have loads and loads and loads of sweet basil already. So I really don't need the seeds off of those. And I may go ahead and just get those out of here so the strawberries can go ahead and make their runners and get rooted in, and we'll have more strawberries for next season. So they get established. And then we have some cucumber vines to go ahead and remove. They have finished doing whatever they're going to do. These are the straight 8 cucumbers. They have stopped producing. I don't see any new blooms. So that just means that they are finished. It may be too cool of temperatures for them, so we'll go ahead and get those out. And Sandy from Suburban Homesteader Wyoming / Arizona, your huge tomato is still going, and I will be carrying it inside every evening that it is really cold and then bringing it back out during the day. But it does have a bloom on it, and it did get pollinated. As you can see, it turned down, which means it will make a tomato, and this is a fasciated bloom. So it should have basically a couple of different tomatoes, or even 3 that are fused together, and I see another bloom that has turned down as well. So we should get some tomatoes off of this guy, hopefully, or at least get them started so I can see what they're going to look like. But we have 2 of those plants. Both of them have blooms. One is a little bit shorter, but the stalks on these guys is just huge. So like I said, we also have Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes that are quite huge right now. We've got loads of lemon cucumbers that are producing now. You can see a lemon cucumber basically sitting on the ground back there. Still have loads of yellow pear tomatoes producing like crazy. I pulled a whole bunch more last night. And we still have the Burpee Pickler cucumbers that are still producing. And I'm picking cucumbers off of these guys. You can see one right here. And there's probably a couple of more through there. And we have a squash plant that's producing. It's not a very big squash, but it's something. And we still have pepper plants that are producing like crazy. And then we've got these 2 cantaloupes still left. They have not slipped as yet, but I know that they're getting to the point of being ripe because they're not very big, as you can see. These are the Ball 2076. So I will not grow these again next season simply because they're not very big. They remind me of the Minnesota midgets, which are kind of a small cantaloupe. And I think next season we are going to stick to the Sharon-Tay because they're a much bigger cantaloupe. And they produce quite prolifically. And we have another watermelon plant to go ahead and get out of the pot. And we'll probably plant that with some more spinach, just so we get some spinach this season. And I might go ahead and clean this pot out because I don't think that watermelon is going to finish out. It's just basically too cool. And we have some more squash down here. Looks like this one did not get pollinated very well, so we'll go ahead and take that one off. So the other 2, which are pollinated, will have a chance to get a lot bigger. So that goes that. And then we still have squash as well in here. The vines are not very big because this is not really a vegetable area. This is more of a herb garden, different type of soil. But we are starting to amend this soil to make it more vegetable friendly. We did grow some green beans in here. We've got some cucumbers in here, which have had some very nice long cucumbers on them. They're supposed to be the Space Master, but the cucumbers that are on them are super long and they get really big. And this one has been doing very well in comparison with the ones in the containers. So anyway, we have more squash in here. And we have some radishes in here, which do not have very big leaves or anything, but they are producing some radishes. And then we have also some lettuce and some dill and a whole bunch of other things in here as well. And I thought it was kind of funny because remember I planted some birdhouse gourds in here, and I didn't plan on them doing a whole lot. I just really liked looking at the flowers, which are very unique in comparison to other flowers, but they're trying to produce little gourds. You can see the little gourds here and there on the plants, but they will not finish out. But it's cute trying to see that they're doing that. And then of course we have lots of cosmos and lots of zinnias in here, which are still blooming like crazy. And we ended up with all pink zinnias in this small garden. I'm not sure why. I planted a mix, but we ended up with all pink. And the cosmos, though, at least we have some whites and some reds and some pinks in there. And then we've got, of course, another cucumber over here, which has a cucumber hanging on the vine. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. I hope everyone else out there is having a healthy and productive garden and lots of canning going on. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out, and we will see you in the next one.